Hello again, and welcome back to the Sicstringcanvas podcast. I'm your host, Dan Chun, and today we have a very special guest. We have the actor, filmmaker, director, producer, writer, and honestly, one of my favorite content creators on YouTube, Walter Banasiak.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you for coming on my podcast, my lowly podcast.
No, this is fun. I like doing stuff like this.
Yeah, do you get to do interviews a lot?
Once in a while. Yeah, it's always fun to like chat back and forth with people who watch some of my stuff or just talking about whatever. It's pretty cool. So yeah, excited to be on.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So just to give you, just to give the viewers a general idea of how I discovered your work, I actually discovered you on Channel Awesome. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I don't follow too. Well, I do watch a lot of YouTube, but some of my favorite content creators, I think the longest ones were like Channel Awesome, AVGN, and watching those for a while. Well, watching the Nostalgia Critic for a while. I first saw you on in the Batman v Superman review. Was that your first one?
That was I think the first Nostalgia Critic I had like a big role on. I think I may have been like in the background on a couple other things before that, but yeah, it seems to be the point where most people recognize me from. So,
okay. Well, it's the Zack Snyder voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where did that come from?
You know, we did the show Awesome Comics, which is now on Twitch. We're doing like live streams every Saturday morning, but back then it was just a YouTube show that we did. That was like my first show that I was involved with at Channel Awesome, and then I got to produce and edit myself and everything. So we had Doug on when we were talking about Batman v Superman, I think. And it was just this roundtable discussion about it. And I started like making fun of Zack Snyder's, like it's not his voice, because like my impression has nothing to do with how he sounds or his demeanor or anything. But I always just thought he tries a little too hard for things to be cool. I mean, you know, that's kind of the catchphrase for that imitation of the characters, the I'm cool thing. But that was kind of like the beginning of it, was just me like talking like this and be like, yeah, he's really cool. I'm cool, right? Yeah, like just talking about like that. And Doug was like, oh, that's really funny. And then we were going to do the Batman v Superman review, the Nostalgia Critic review, like I think the next week or something. And he was going to have Jim play Zack Snyder because he looks a little bit more like him, which he does. Mm-hmm. But he was like, your portrayal of him would be really funny because it's going to be way over the top, and how he wrote him matches up with that weird impression I did. It was just an offhand thing. It wasn't like, you know, something I planned or whatever. So he put me in on that, and yeah, that was a fun experience. That was like everything Doug, like when he directs, especially this first time, it was always like, you got to go bigger, man. You got to go bigger. So like,
oh, really?
Every
okay.
time I thought it was going as over the top as I possibly could, but apparently not, because every time it was like, you got to go bigger. I was like, okay, Aquaman is in the movie. It like would blow up.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. But yeah. Doug, he seems to. I mean, I'm not surprised when you tell me that's his sort of direction, because his caricature is actually over the top too. Me personally, I think he's like I laugh. There are many times when I laughed out loud when he just went off on a rant because he was just so angry. And yeah, so yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that. Now you were mentioning Awesome Comics, so you're saying that you were. Like you were on Awesome Comics before you were in the Batman v Superman review?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Awesome. Yeah, it had to have been. Yeah, Awesome Comics was in like March of 2016 or a little bit before that, I think, when we started. Or at least we were working on it. I know that the Zack Snyder thing happened on the Awesome Comics set. It didn't make it to the actual episode. I think I cut it out because that was a nightmare to edit, because they wanted us to edit it down, but these were like hour-long discussions, and like I had to chop huge things out. So that was one of the things that didn't make it to the YouTube video. I think it's got to be on like a hard drive around here somewhere. But yeah, I was on there. Like that was the first main show that I was involved with. I was helping out behind the scenes on Nostalgia Critic. I think the first the first thing I helped out on was the Mad Max Fury Road review.
Mhm.
That was the first time I was like behind the scenes and helping out. I was interning at Channel Awesome like my last year in college, my last semester. And then eventually I got a part-time job and that turned into a full-time job. So it was just helping Jim out with like at the studio. Jim J. Roz is who plays like a whole bunch of characters.
Right.
Um, the Sparkle guy, I guess is most known for. But he's like really the heartbeat of the whole place. I mean, he builds all the props for all the sets and everything for Nostalgia Critic and anything else that they have to do over there. So like my main thing at first was helping him, and that eventually turned into the Awesome Comic Show and then the Top 5 show, and now going on Nostalgia Critic and having fanscription and stuff like that. So
I'm amazed at how well he can Jim can build. Like his awesome build when he
yeah,
and like the fact that he's showing like the viewers how to do it. I mean, this is gold. I mean, like I don't have a big place, so I wouldn't be able to do that. Normally I go with my hands, but the fact that he's sharing his knowledge there and how good he is at it is just amazing.
yeah, Jim he's really talented. I think he's personally like the most talented person in the group because he could do so many different things. He's a really funny actor. He could do serious stuff too. I mean, we don't usually do that at Channel Awesome, but
Right.
Jim could pull off a lot of different things acting wise. And outside of that, I mean, he could do anything. He could build anything if you give him a little time. He's shot a lot of his own movies like before he got involved in Channel Awesome and everything. I mean, he could really do it all.
Right. Yeah. So is he a trained actor? Are you all trained actors at Channel Awesome or
No, I think Tamara is a trained actor, I think.
yeah, her and Malcolm, I think I could tell.
Malcolm, yeah. Ayana was. I'm pretty sure Heather had some training. I did high school plays like in my last 2 years of high school, and I've been making my own films and with friends and stuff since high school. So it's not classically trained or anything like that. But I mean, I've been acting just to act since I guess high school.
You had a part in City of Gold. I mean, it seemed like a pretty good production.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a long story. That's the director's my best friend, Harry Locke the fourth. So we went to high school, we went to grade school together. I've known him since second grade. So
Mhm.
we've been best friends for years and years and years. So like after high school or like even the summer right after we graduated is when we first started really dedicating ourselves to making stuff. So our first thing that we really tried to do was a feature film, which is the stupidest thing you could you could do. Like just starting off, we started off like did everything backwards. So that's up on my personal YouTube channel. Like it's called Noir, and it's pretty bad in some cases, but I mean it was our first production. Like the fact that we got it done
Mhm.
is like a miracle within itself. So I'm really proud of that. Um, so like it just started from there, and then we did I'm Still Here, which is also on my personal YouTube channel the next summer. Another feature film, which it's so weird that we did it that way, but that's how it happened. And then making like went to film school and made a few short films, and Harry went to USC for grad school for the cinematic arts and all that. So he's been making stuff on a much higher level for a while longer. And it's all who you know out there. So he got hooked up with
Yeah, that's true.
um, with like this writer who's also a producer, and he made City of Gold like with his own money and everything. So Harry got the opportunity to direct that. He didn't have a lot of creative control over it. There's things that a director would probably want to do that when the writer is also the producer that you just can't. I mean, the writer also put the money up for it, so you can't really change someone whose mind is like set on something when they're the one putting the money up for it.
Right. Okay.
Which is totally within his rights and everything. Totally. Ron, his name is Ron. He's a really nice guy.
Mhm.
Really helped us out. But yeah, Harry is since then with City of Gold. Yeah, so I guess with City of Gold, I had a part as a Peruvian rebel.
Right.
That was all. It was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. Like shooting something, probably the most fun. We shot that in Maui, in Hawaii. So that was the first time I ever went out there. That was a lot of fun. Um, but it was a lot of it was like on a bigger scale of what we used to do, which was like, all right, we got to change things here and there. Can you play this part and this? And everyone was I was working sound most of the time,
Right.
and I was supposed to play like this different character, and then we like switched that at the last minute. Um, But it was a ton of fun. I would love to do something like that again with some kind of budget, like that had a decent sized budget to it. Um, so yeah, and since then we worked on stuff. There's a Western film that we shot like I guess 2 years ago now almost. That's like been touring around the festival circuit and has won a few awards and stuff. So I think he's gonna put that online sometime soon. It's called The Redeemer. So I got to work sound on that and also have like a small acting role in. We shot that in California, like in the like desert, like a ranch type area. So that was a lot of fun. I think he's trying to make that into a feature film, so trying to sell the idea and stuff right now. But yeah, I mean, whenever he's working on something big, usually I get to go out and help him do something. So I really hope that keeps going and I could be on bigger sets and stuff. So City of Gold was the first big one though, I think, that we did. It's on Amazon Prime and all that. So
Yeah, I purchased
check
it.
out if you want.
No, I already purchased it and I watched it, and I thought you were pretty convincing but you were like a villain type, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought you were pretty convincing in it. I'm like, you got the long hair and you had the, yeah, I think it worked really well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was I guess if people just know me from Channel Awesome, that'd be a big shift. Seeing like guy talking like this to like a more serious Peruvian character. But
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if your fan base, like, I don't know how much of your fan base usually associates you with Channel Awesome first, but I know you as much as affiliated, you're affiliated with them, but I also know you have your own little thing. I mean, I'm not like I have I subscribe to your Awesome Walter channel. I watch your stuff, and I think my progression. Well, even though I still watch the channel for Awesome stuff, I when I noticed your work after it's weird because I discovered your stuff like when I was first exposed to you on that review, the Batman v Superman. But then for some reason, I don't know, I just started seeing more of your work. Like that's when I saw Awesome Comics, and I loved Awesome Comics. I really enjoyed those episodes. I would look forward to every episode that came out. I love the stories. My personal favorite is when you were all reviewing Logan.
Oh, okay.
And I loved that movie, and I love the story behind your friend Brian Porter. How I think you dragged him. He was kicking and screaming, and you really didn't. He wanted to hate it, but then he just loved that movie. Like as a film buff or as a huge fan of film, I love introducing those kinds of films to my friends. They're like, they don't really know what to expect, and then they end up loving this film. Yeah, I just love that story. I don't know.
Yeah. But Porter, I mean, Porter is very, very opinionated about a lot of things. If you watched Awesome Comics, you know that. So like, yeah, I guess he wasn't really into seeing the movie. He was like, I think crying in the middle of it.
Really? Was it that bad?
I think he was, I mean, he was really into it. I'm pretty sure he like started tearing up or something. It might have been another movie, but I'm pretty sure it was that one. It's been a long time since I've watched that video, but yeah, I'm glad I got Porter involved because I was friends with Porter like years before I was involved with Channel Awesome. So like when we were starting that show, it was like looking for people who have like a comic book knowledge and like about the movies and stuff. And I was like, well, like Porter's right, like lives right, like semi close to me. Like, let's just get him involved in this. So that's how we got him involved. And then getting Heather and Ayana was like a casting process where I think only a few people came in, but Ayana and Heather both stuck out so well. Like originally we were looking for just one person. But then like after we saw those two, Jim and I were just like, we gotta just get both. We'll just cycle like people in and out. Cause originally it was supposed to be 3 people on the show, but you're like, we gotta like get both Heather and Ayana involved. So
also that's how they got introduced to Channel Awesome as well.
Yeah, that was through Awesome Comics. That was a audition process and everything. So that was it because I just started there. So like I'm the one on the other end, like auditioning people to be in, and like it felt kind of weird to me to be doing that. But since I was like helping produce the show, I mean, I guess that made sense. But I mean, it was just kind of weird because I watched Channel Awesome like for years. I was a huge fan of
Hmm.
AVGN, like you said, and Channel Awesome. I'm a huge Red Letter Media fan too. Like I watched them for years. I want to say since like 2009-ish, maybe. I remember when I first started really getting into the Channel Awesome stuff, the the video that was on the Channel Awesome website, that was the first one, was like the top 11 awesome cliches or something, and the title card was the cartoon version of Nostalgia Critic walking away from an explosion. So whenever that video was posted originally on Blip was when I was around when I started watching them. So
What is your personal favorite Nostalgia Critic episode?
The Room. It's gotta be The Room. Like it's no contest for me. I love The Room. It's like it's just that's how I first got exposed to it, the movie in general, and then later getting to be in a review with Greg Sestero and like getting pictures taken with him. It's so weird. Like thinking about where I was when I first saw the Room review, like the Nostalgia Critic review, and then jumping a few years later and I'm in Doug's house playing VR goggle stuff with Greg Sestero and Doug. It's like what is this life that has happened upon me? It's very weird
Must be
to think about
surreal.
where I was. Yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
because you like you're saying
yeah,
you were fans, and now you're working with them. That must be
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
my
very
wife
strange.
got introduced to she thinks Doug is really funny too. She
Mm,
got introduced to him through that review as well, I remember we were watching this, and she's like, "What the hell is this?"
yeah.
She's only said that twice. When we were watching the we were watching Doug's review of the Star Wars Christmas special,
Oh, okay. Mm.
and the room, and they're both times like, "What the hell is this?" And she thought it was funny, but and just as a joke, I said, "Do you want to watch the actual movie?" And she's like, "No, no, no, we're not watching that." But yeah, we watched The Disaster Artist. She enjoyed that.
Yeah, for sure. That
Yeah.
book is really good too. I listened to it on audio.
Oh, okay.
It's a really good book. The book I think is way better than the movie actually. Like there's a lot
Really?
of stuff that there's a ton of stuff that they skipped over completely or changed curiously in the movie.
Okay.
That is just way better in the book. Like the real stories are better than some of the stuff that they came up with for the movie. So
I didn't even know they had
uh,
a book. I should look
yeah,
into that.
that's what it's based off of. Greg Sestero wrote the book. So it's all from his perspective.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. 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 Yeah. Now I know. Oh, yeah. The one from. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would definitely
Okay.
suggest that to anyone who's watched the Disaster Artist or The Room. The book is the main. The Disaster Artist book is the main thing that I think you should check out of any of that stuff.
He seems to be a nice guy. He gives that vibe that he seems. Yeah.
Greg Sestero, yeah,
Yeah. Seems
hmm
like it.
he is. He is.
Yeah. So you said you came on to Channel Awesome through comic books. Is that something that you're really passionate? Is that you grew up? I guess you grew up reading a lot of comic books and.
Yeah, I mean, not quite as much as I wanted to. We had a comic book shop in town where I grew up, and I went there like once in a long while to get some comic books to read. But my major exposure to those characters and everything was through the cartoons, like Batman the Animated Series,
Right.
Spider-Man the Animated Series, Justice League, Superman Animated Series, all that stuff. Like a lot of the Bruce Timm stuff, and that Spider-Man show on Fox Kids was like what I was exposed to originally that got me involved to reading more comics. And I really got into comics, I want to say like high school, and even after that I started to become a regular subscriber. That didn't last too long. It was only a couple years because I figured out that I just want to see the stories completed. Like the weekly thing is fine, but I would more want to see a full, like a trade paperback version of the full story and read that. So a lot of the times, if there's something I'm really interested in, like the Three Jokers or something like that, like
Mhm.
that's a new book that came out. Most of the time, I wait until that's collected into one volume and then I'll go get it instead of getting the individual issues. So, yeah, I love comic books. I mean, I just and I loved them before it was cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, I was never picked on or anything like that, like a lot of people a little bit older than me were. But I mean, I was never shy about, you know, that I love superheroes and comic books. And I would draw characters all the time in school. So and Dragon Ball Z was a big thing for me too. So I would draw Dragon Ball Z characters all the time. So yeah.
How great is it for? I mean, such a great time to be alive for comic book fans, just with all the stuff going on with the movies and I really enjoyed. By the way, I really enjoyed your segment on not segment or your series, your Batman series. I think those were
Yeah.
really. I really enjoyed those.
Thanks.
I think I could tell you were a huge fan, but I mean, just uh, I think it's just so incredible that we can be alive today and just witness a lot of these things. I mean, whether or not you like the Zack Snyder films, but still, I mean, they're being made. I mean, they're
Yeah,
made
exactly.
exactly right, and the Snyder cut. I don't really know how to feel about. I don't really know how I feel about that, but
Yeah,
um,
I mean, I'm glad that it's coming out and it's going to be really weird and it's going to be 4 1-hour parts on HBO Max and all this stuff. Like, I'm glad that they're getting to do something like that because I hopefully we'll get to see more director's cuts
I mean,
of that kind of thing. Hopefully that'll open up the door for more creative versions of movies that we never saw, like older movies. Um, so while I'm not like particular to Zach's style or his interpretation of the characters, I'm still looking forward to checking that out for sure.
mm, yeah, yeah. I remember when you and Brian Porter were doing the when you two did the YouTube live thing. Yeah, you were taking questions from fans, and I was watching that, and I threw in some questions, and uh, and you actually read one of them out. I asked who you think would make a really good Thomas Wayne Batman. You said Jeffrey D. Morgan,
Right.
and then I was mentioning about like how cool it would be if they brought back Michael Keaton and he was the old man Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And it
Batman
looks like it's
Beyond.
going to happen.
I know, crazy, right?
It's crazy. I'm just
That's the
so
world we're
happy.
living in.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Mhm.
I okay, so there was one fan theory that I wanted to I was dying to like suggest out there. I was hoping you would but now that I'm actually have you on here, I guess I have the luxury of asking you. I always thought that if you're gonna have like this wild fan theory about Jared Leto's Joker, what if he was Robin?
I know that's the thing that's been going around a lot.
Is that
Yeah.
really? But like from Batman Beyond the movie, right? What if he was actually the Robin instead of you? That would kind of
Yeah.
explain his look and everything. I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember that was like a when we first saw like the messed up Joker suit in Batman v Superman, people were talking about that, and then Suicide Squad. He doesn't look like Joker. He's like very acting very different and has a very different style. Um,
Mm-hmm.
People thought that maybe that's like a Jason Todd or something that got turned into the Joker. Because Dick Grayson's supposedly dead in the BVS time, the Snyder timeline. Because I mean, I don't know if it's official or not, but I mean, there is behind the scenes pictures in the Wayne family cemetery or whatever that's next to the manor. There's a Dick Grayson headstone.
Oh, is that
So
right? Oh, okay.
yeah, so
Oh,
I always heard the rumor was that maybe Jason Todd got taken on to be the second Robin, and then he was turned into the Joker by the Joker, and the original Joker is dead, and like he's sort of carrying that on. But yeah, I mean, I think I would be way more accepting if that was the truth because I'm not a fan of the Jared Leto Joker, pretty much at all from what I've seen. Supposedly he's going to be in the Snyder cut now, so that's going to be interesting. And Justice League
yeah.
are just throwing everyone in there. But yeah, I mean, it would kind of be a make good for a lot of people who just don't like Jared Leto's version. I think it would be like, okay, it's more you can accept it now more because it's not the original Joker. It's
Right.
the Jason Todd Robin turned into Joker.
I always thought I came up with that theory. I guess not.
No, that's probably a lot of people just had a similar thought process after they saw those little clues that were dropped in the movie. So I remember hearing about that, yeah, too, from the very beginning.
Okay. Well, we're nearing our break, so maybe we can take a really quick break, and later on, I was hoping we could talk about just your talent as a writer, because I want to talk about fanscription. I'm a huge fan of fanscription,
Thanks.
and also your um, can I call it your magnum opus or your big passion project? You created a movie. I see the poster behind you, the Infinity
Right.
Trinity.
Yeah, we could talk about that. That's, I mean, I guess we'll call it my magnum opus for now.
Now, yeah, you're still
Yeah.
young. You have a lot more. You have a lot under your belt, so I'm sure there's a lot more stuff. But yeah, I wanted to
Mm.
talk about that. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, okay. So we will take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
I think we need to pay a visit to somebody a little bit more competent.
Maybe we shouldn't.
What? Eddie, we just
I
got
know.
started.
I know, okay? I miss Pete just as much as you do, but don't you think that if he was in trouble, he would have let us know by now? He's too smart for all that crap. Alright, it's not just that. I'm finally starting to get my life on the right track here, Riley. My brother is back. I have a good job. Messing around with stacks and all that garbage again, that could ruin everything. We did what Liz wanted us to do. We went to the cops, and they're gonna let us know if anything comes up. Look, Pete's all right. I know it. What you and me need right now.
And we are back with Walter Banasiak. And Walter, I know you wear a lot of creative hats, but I really admire you as a writer.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, is that something you? I guess you do a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, writing, it seems like, is where I've gravitated towards most. I mean, at first, when I was doing all this stuff, I was, like going back to talking about the films that we made, in high school and after that, I was writing, directing, acting, producing, editing, like we were doing everything. So I'm very used to coming from that kind of school of thought where you do everything yourself, and like you have a very small dedicated group of people to doing crew jobs or acting in something. You have to like bribe people to be in your movies sometimes when you're that age.
Oh,
So like, yeah, so I was doing a lot of different stuff, including writing. But as I got older and where I'm at now, I think writing is the thing that I enjoy the most. It's also very frustrating in a way because you could sit for a really long time and just not be able to come up with anything. And then, at 2 a.m, sometime you'll wake up and start typing for hours. And like, it's kind of hard to predict when you're going to be productive in that area. But writing is like creating stuff and stories. That's kind of where my head's at now. And that's kind of what I want to be. I'm figuring this out after I'm 32 years old now. So, but I think that's like the main thing that I would want to do. I love editing. I still love acting, but they're all different sort of, you get different gratification out of all those different jobs. Writing is just creating something from the ground up and watching it change and have other people interpret it through acting, or if someone else is directing the material, like that's like the thing that I get the most out of, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think your skill as as a writer, for me at least, was just so obvious when I after watching several episodes of Fanscription. When the first episode came out, I was like, okay, what is this? This is really interesting. And so I really encourage everyone to really check out Channel Awesome's page and check out his work, Walter's work, just because. So Fanscription is basically, how do I put it? So you basically take movie plots from popular movies and you write like a parallel universe. Like what would happen if something happened? And it's really, really well done.
Thanks.
I was okay. So first of all, I gotta say this. I love the fact that you are a huge Rocky fan.
Oh, that's my main thing. Out of anything.
I love Rocky. I love
Oh,
when
that's
we were
great.
dating.
Yes.
When my wife and I were dating, I made her watch all six. So I tell my
That's what
friends
you got to
that.
do. That's what's got to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, because it's like it's just so amazing how well this franchise has lasted.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, really quick. So I've always wanted to tell, like, I was introduced to Rocky by watching Rocky 5 first.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. Whatever
Well,
gets you there.
it's a surreal journey because it was in the early 90s when Rocky 5 came out, and I was with a friend, and he was saying, "Oh my goodness, this is a new Rocky movie. Let's rent it and watch it." And like, for those of you who've seen it, like, he gets not brain damage, but he has to retire and all that. And we were kids, right? And so I didn't know what was going on. And what I would ask my friend, like, "Oh, what does he mean? What does a doctor mean that he, like?" Because he goes in for scans and he has to retire. I'm like, why does he have to retire? And then my friend said something stupid. He's like, oh, he's dying. So
That was
I
kind of the
always
original
thought that,
idea.
well, no, he said like he could drop dead any time. Like in the movie, that's what he told me. So you can imagine my horror at the end when he's getting pounded by Tommy Gunn.
Yeah.
Then he eventually wins, but like, oh my goodness, he could die. He just shortened his lifespan. But
Yeah.
after watching that, it wasn't until like 10 years later when I finally decided to watch Rocky and then Rocky 2. And the thing is, you start falling in love with the character. But in my mind, just imagine like you fall in love with him knowing that eventually he's going to die. So it's like the most heartbreaking thing.
Yeah.
But, but then Rocky Balboa came out. I love Rocky Balboa.
Me too. Yeah.
And when you think he hangs up the gloves, they come out with Creed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
true, basically.
I mean, on paper, it sounds a bit weak.
Yeah, right. I mean, it sounds like, well, maybe that could work, but that seems kind of cheap. I mean, like that was all like when I saw the first trailer, that's when I was like, oh, this is going to be this kind of direction.
Yeah.
I love Creed. Love it.
Yeah. And I always tell my friends who haven't, and most of my friends haven't seen it. If you're going to watch Creed and Creed 2, you have to watch the Rocky movies first.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You have to. You absolutely have to.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed your fanscription episodes for Rocky 5.
Rocky 4. Okay. Gotcha.
Right.
The first one
was
and
4,
even
So Rocky 5 and Rocky 4. So if Apollo Creed, what happened? Well, spoiler, people don't know. Apollo Creed dies, but what if he did not die? And it was, and I remember watching them like, this is like Hollywood, like quality. Like, why isn't he writing for Hollywood? This is so much better.
Yeah, Rocky 4, it's got a complicated history, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I love all the Rocky movies. Okay, like that is my main thing. If I'm a fan of anything, it's Rocky. Like since I was 8 years old, I absolutely love Rocky. I think Rocky 4, it's fun and I liked it when I was younger, but I actually like Rocky 5 more than Rocky 4.
Really?
I think Rocky 4 is the weakest of all of them because it's all cheap, like over the top, giant 80s Rocky versus Russia type stuff. And that makes sense for the time. It's the highest grossing Rocky film, I think. And it was like the second highest grossing movie of 1985 behind Back to the Future, or is like, one of the top 3 or 4 or whatever. I think Rambo 2 was up there too. So Stallone was having a heck of a year. But yeah, I mean, it just felt cheap. Like I remember like, even when I first saw it, I mean, I liked it because the fight at the end was amazing and all that. But I remember just thinking like, you're going to kill after all that, you're going to kill Apollo? After those first 3 movies, you're just going to kill him and it's a revenge story in a Rocky movie?
I think you mentioned it. It's so cheap. I mean, he's such a revered character. You just kind of throw him away like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just used as motivation for Rocky to beat Ivan Drago / Russia. And just a big rah-rah USA thing. And it was like, I'm all for the rah-rah USA thing, but not this. like, I mean, I love Rocky 4. Don't get me wrong. I still love the movie. I'll take that over almost any other non-Rocky movie. But still, it's out of all of them, at least Rocky 5 tried to reground the series. It brought back John Avildsen, the director of the first film. And some of those scenes work really well. The scene in Rocky 5 where Rocky is reminiscing about Mick, like in
Oh
the
my
gym.
goodness.
One of the best scenes in the entire franchise.
Oh my goodness.
There are blips of a heartbeat in that movie that Rocky IV does not ever show.
That's
So
true.
yeah, that's why like Rocky IV, like that always bugged me. That was kind of the impetus of the whole series in general. Is what I could do. What if Apollo Creed didn't die in Rocky IV, and I
Yeah.
could make this, like make the movie as it should have been, or whatever, or from my perspective anyway. I think Stallone even said he regretted killing Apollo off later. So, yeah, that was kind of the spark that started the show, was wanting to get to that video.
Hmm. Yeah. So if you haven't checked out that episode, like it's really really good. And also the episode, yeah. So Rocky Five. What if Adonis Creed had been introduced in Rocky Five? I thought that was really, that's a good. It's a good segue instead of just kind of all of a sudden, oh, here's his long lost son, right? I thought that
Right.
was. I thought the transition was much more smooth.
Yeah, I mean, like retroactively, it's hindsight 2020 kind of thing, because we didn't know that Creed was going to come out in the 90s or whatever. So it's definitely a retroactive, a retcon type thing, to make a little bit more sense. But yeah, I mean, like with that character coming out in those two Creed movies being such a strong character, I love Michael B. Jordan's portrayal of Adonis in those movies. I think he's
Amazing.
great. So like having that character shown off in a different way because Apollo is alive, and just the question of how he would deal with an illegitimate son if he was still alive while Rocky's going through all the things that he's going through. And so it kind of became like this diverging two tales that still interlock throughout, so it kind of splits the focus a little bit. It's still more of a Rocky film, like my version of Rocky V in that fanscription video, but there's a big separate storyline with Adonis and Apollo, and bringing. I think they called. I never heard this expression before. I read it like not too long after I did this video, but a deuteragonist, which is like the secondary character. Like there's the protagonist, which would be Rocky, and the deuteragonist, I guess I saw described as Apollo. So I was like, okay, so I guess that's the deuteragonist tale is the Apollo Adonis stuff, and Rocky's main storyline is still prominent throughout the film. And they meet up, I mean, like as they're training to fight Tommy Gunn in the ring. That was like one of the
Right.
big changes I made in the Rocky V video. So Apollo's going through all this stuff. I had George Washington Duke, the big, really great character, I think, actually, but unfortunately the movie wasn't fantastic. But he was the one who kind of tried to humiliate Apollo and Rocky's camp before the fight and everything, and like really, this down and dirty tactic sort of thing that outed that Adonis was his illegitimate son. So they all have something going into this fight, because George Washington Duke would be managing Tommy Gunn. So it's kind of like Apollo and Duke, and then Rocky and Tommy in the ring. So you meet up at the end.
How long does it take for you to come up with this stuff? Because this is like, because you could really feel the tension, and not only the writing, but the way you narrate it. Right, it just feels like another movie. I mean that. I mean when I say that. Like, how long does it take for you to come up with all this? Like, it must do a number on your brain. I mean, because you guys are like pumping out content quite a bit. I'm shocked at how well, like how frequent you guys are doing this, and how long does it take?
For the writing process, I mean, if I have an idea right away, like I did for the Rocky videos, like I did kind of for the Joker and Dark Knight Rises videos, it doesn't take too long to write it out if I already have the idea. But if it's something where like I want to do a what if, but I'm not sure how it would go, that takes considerably longer. So a lot of the times, it'll take me like a day to take my notes on the movie and like write out like what I want to happen in some kind of sequential order, and then one full day to write. Sometimes, I mean, like I'm pretty sure the Dark Knight Rises one took me like 3 days to write. There's a couple of these that took a really long time to get through.
Really?
Yeah, but for the most part, it's usually like one day if I have a solid idea. I'm not sure what Rob's process is, because he's also the co-writer and co-producer on the show.
And he's also a very talented writer too.
Oh, Rob's great. Rob is great. I wish you would write more stuff. I mean, like it's always like, Rob, why don't you like
Why doesn't he?
write something else just to write it, and he doesn't like. Like, well, if we're not making a movie, I don't really feel like writing stuff. I was like, come on, man, just do it. Then maybe later we could do it as a movie.
A lot of untapped potential there.
Yeah. Rob's very talented as a writer, and I think he knows that he has that within him. He just doesn't, for whatever reason, doesn't want to make his own stories because I guess he still writes for Nostalgia Critic and does transcription videos and stuff. So I guess that fulfills him enough, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's really good at doing the same kind of thing. His angle on a lot of the stories were improving the movie. Where, I mean, my goal is that with a lot of this stuff. I mean, with the Rocky stuff, obviously, I think it would make it better if Apollo did survive. But it's more about the what if. It's more about the what if this happened, how would it play out, instead of I'm going in just to fix the movie. But that's more of Rob's angle on thing, is to improve stuff. So you could kind of see that if you watch our videos back to back and stuff. But Rob's great at doing that. So, I mean, it's a win-win, and from my perspective.
Yeah, you're talking about how hard some of the processes were, but I remember you were saying in your video, what was the episode called? What if Christian Bale were in Batman v Superman? You said that was the hardest one for you to write. I thought you did a really good job reconciling their motivation, because obviously like in the actual movie, there's no reason for them to fight, and I think you guys mentioned that a lot. But the motivation, I think you worked out really, really well, so that it seems more real.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was the one that took 3 days. Not the Dark Knight Rises one. That one, yeah. That one, I mean, I had the idea for it. I think it was a suggestion on Twitter or something. And I was like, that would be really cool, but how could we like cross these over? So I had to like do a little retroactive stuff on, I think, some Man of Steel ideas to kind of tie it in more. So instead of seeing, the Ben Affleck Batman seeing everything crumble down, it's Bruce Wayne seeing it from like his happily ever after ending after Dark Knight Rises from Europe, seeing what's happening. And that's the thing that brings him back in, is like his friends dying in that rubble in Metropolis. Alfred's gone. His new protege, who was, the John Blake character played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, died in that as well. And the only person left, I think, was Morgan Freeman's character, Lucius Fox. And that's kind of playing the Alfred role a little bit, but also trying to bring Bruce back. He also leaves Selena Kyle because he feels like once he left, things went to crap. So like he feels like he has to go back and set things right. But to set things right, I mean, he goes darker than ever, and taking on that version of Superman, and the misunderstandings that happen there are more the focus, I think. I think it would have made more sense to me than how they portrayed it in Batman v Superman, which I don't think is awful. I don't think it's the worst movie ever or anything like that. No, I don't hate any of Zack Snyder's movies except for Sucker Punch. I really, really don't like that movie. Everything else, though, like I like 300. I like his Dawn of the Dead movie.
I didn't mind Man of Steel that much. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was like okay. I was like, well, it's not like what I would have done, and like I think it kind of misses the point of Superman at some points, but it's not the worst thing they could have done. But yeah, Batman v Superman, I think like did just way too much in one movie, like having Wonder Woman come in and then Doomsday, and like what the hell? Like that's why I wanted to scale stuff down in my version of it. It would just be about Batman and Superman. That's all you really need. And then like you could tease stuff for after. So I still have Wonder Woman in there, like the Doomsday thing with like the half version of General Zod, because they used his body. So like I kind of had like a half version of him and Doomsday in it to like tease what's coming next with Lex Luthor and stuff. So you have the main plot of Batman v Superman actually be Batman versus Superman, and then you can do more stuff later. And that's where I kind of left it open-ended. I've gotten a lot of requests for like, what if Christian Bale was in the Justice League movie and stuff? I don't know if I'll do that or not, but I mean, you could do more things from where I left it. So maybe down the line.
Okay. Yeah. How excited are you, or what is your opinion on the Batman with Robert Pattinson, the trailer?
The trailer looked great. It looks like they're doing the more detective thing, which we haven't seen a lot in the Batman movies yet. So that angle on it's really cool. I like the tone, them using the Nirvana song and all that. So, I mean, I'm a fan of I can't remember the actor's name who's playing Commissioner Gordon in that.
Jeffrey.
Felix. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name right now, but he plays Felix Leiter in the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. He's in a bunch of other stuff. He was in the Hunger Games, I think. Like he's a pretty big time actor. But that guy, when I heard he was casted, I was like, that's a perfect casting. That's great. So I'm a big fan of him. The angle that they're taking with it looks like it's something I'll definitely be into, of more this mystery and really gritty, dirty looking movie instead of like sometimes Dark Knight. It was definitely like a more realistic take on Batman, but sometimes it's very pristine and like, especially Dark Knight, like that movie, like everything shot in Chicago looks very like, grand and clean a lot of the times.
It's shot in Chicago?
Dark Knight shot in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Dark Knight. Okay. I thought you meant.
So a lot of Batman Begins was shot in Chicago too. Not everything, but I mean a chunk of it. And I think they shot some stuff for the Batman, like some exteriors in Chicago too. A few months ago, they were picking up some shots, I guess. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this angle on it. Robert Pattinson. Like everyone, of course, like is going to point to the Twilight movies and be like, "Oh, you got the Twilight guy." I know that he's done a lot of serious stuff since then. Like I get it.
Fine,
yeah, I'm sure he'll be good. I'm sure he's taking it seriously. He doesn't even like the Twilight movies. I get all that. I do wish that they would stop casting like really well-known actors or actors who are very well known for another role as Batman. I kind of miss the days when we can get someone in there as a Superman or Batman who wasn't super well known for something else, like Ben Affleck as Batman. When I first heard that, I was like, what? Come on.
Really?
Ben, like, yeah, I was very like down in the dumps about that. But I liked his portrayal. I think he was good. I mean, like he pulled it off well because it was a different version of Batman. It was like this, bulkier, meaner, murderous version of Batman, apparently. But yeah, it's always like you could skip that whole fan backlash. You could skip, people having preconceived notions if you just cast someone who's a little bit more unknown in those roles. I mean, I like Henry Cavill wasn't super well known before being cast as Superman, and I think that leaves people with more of an open mind going into the movie that he's going to be in. So, I'm sure Robert Pattinson's going to be great. I just wish they would expand their search a little bit more, because I'm sure like Robert Pattinson's not the only person who could play Batman.
Yeah, the last person I can think of who was casted, an unknown actor to be casted in a superhero movie, was Brandon Routh. And I still maintain he was actually pretty. Say what you will about the movie itself, but I thought he made a pretty good Clark Kent Superman.
He was a great Clark Kent. I think his Superman suffered from the direction and the story, just him being like, just super mopey. I don't know what's mopier, Man of Steel or Superman Returns, but there's no real punching or action in Superman Returns besides him moving a kryptonite planet or whatever. So like, yeah, I don't really think that was his fault, but he came back as Superman and Clark Kent in the CW version of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Right.
And he was great. He was playing like the Kingdom Come older version of Superman. He was so good. Like I'm like, see, you just have the right person behind the camera, like directing him, or like the right story. He could have been like a fantastic Superman. So, because we already know he's great as Clark Kent. So, I mean, I'm still holding out hope. Maybe they'll make an HBO Max series or something about that version of Superman that we could see Brandon Routh like portray again. But yeah, he was like a real unknown. I think he was like the main reason he was cast because he looked like
Christopher Reeve, yeah.
Which he does.
He does. Sure. Yeah. So I really wanted to talk about your movie, Infinity Trinity. But would you be able to stick around for an extra 5 minutes, just because I don't want my camera to die? Just so that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So we will take another really short break, and we'll be right back with Walter Banasiak.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. May your days be bright. From now on, be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away.
Okay, we are back once more with Walter Banasiak. And Walter, we've been talking a lot about your work with Channel Awesome and a lot of geeking out over comic books and Rocky. But now we get to talk about your passion project, the Infinity Trinity.
Yep.
I think you released this, it was last year. It's been a year and a half, almost 2 years.
I think last December I put it up.
Was it last December?
I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it was. Because I think I wanted to release it before Christmas because there's a Christmas episode. I'm pretty sure it was in December.
Yeah. So for those of you who have not watched it, you can go on Awesome Walter, Walter's personal YouTube channel, and he has a 5-part series called the Infinity Trinity. It's one movie, but it's divided into 5 parts. My understanding is that this is something that has been on your radar for many, many years. It's something that you've been wanting to do for a long time. And I think you mentioned that in your prologue. And it was a YouTube premiere feature. I watched it. It was funny. It was lighthearted. I loved it. It gives me that. It just gives me like this really nostalgic kind of vibe. I just love the tone and the mood and the story. And you look like you had a really good time making it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely had a good time. It was very hectic and like a lot of that thing where you're doing a lot of stuff on your own with a very small group of really dedicated friends who I'm indebted to for helping me out during that whole process. But yeah, it was a good time. I mean, so it's a 5-part series. So like there's definitely the obvious overarching storyline, but I always kind of meant it as like a mini limited series sort of thing. So you could watch it all back to back and it will definitely play like a movie. But I always kind of meant it as just sort of like like a streaming series type thing. So
okay.
So like every episode is still, I think, mostly a self-contained story, except for like episode 4 and 5 are like a real back-to-back kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, this all started, I think, 2012. I was in film school and I never made like a comedy thing. And I always thought that's like partially like a natural thing for me to do, to write and act in or direct or whatever. So I wrote a short film called The Infinity Trinity back then, which I may put up at some point online. This is kind of like the episode 0 of the series, something that happened like a couple of years before we made this. So that went pretty well. I mean, like, it was like a half hour, like things flowed pretty well. It was like learning a lot throughout that process. And I got it done as the first thing I directed on my own that was like that big. And it turned out really great. So I always thought after that was over, I was like, there's so much more I could do with these characters. I really want to do more stuff, and we can get more experience with like the small crew I had by working on like a series as a sequel to the original Infinity Trinity short. So that's when I started brainstorming ideas, and I was unsure about if I wanted to really go through it or not, because it would be a huge commitment to get 5 episodes of this series done. And I would have to ask a lot of other people, but a friend of mine who was cinematographer on the first one and just general crew helping out like in a major way in the other 4 episodes. She told me, her name's Kim, she's a great friend, very talented cinematographer, by the way. And she said, well, just do it and we'll figure it out. And I was like, okay, like fine. So I wrote the first 2 episodes were for courses at Governor State, where I went to grad school. So I got to make those just like I knew I was going to make them because they were for class. So I had to finish them. So I was like, all right, I want it to be a 5-part series. we'll get the first 2 knocked out while I'm in school. And it's like, yeah, that's like, then we'll just have 3 more to go and we could do that after. And I have to tell everyone we already got started. You can't stop now. So that's kind of how it worked out, where I finished those 2 episodes. And then after I graduated, started going into making the stuff kind of on our own for the last 3. So I think we shot from 2014 to 2016. We shot those 5 episodes. So over the course of over 2 years, we got 5 episodes shot. And it took me a long time to edit them because I would have rough cuts of everything done, but I wasn't able to fully finish anything because I got the job at Channel Awesome in 2016. And it was a really, I don't want to say intense, but like I was busy all the time. So it was tough to like make time for personal projects when I was doing Top 5 and Awesome Comics and helping out Nostalgia Critic and helping edit Tamara's Never Seen and all this stuff at the same time. I just had no time to go back and do Infinity Trinity work. So finally, when I like eventually programmed my schedule to where I could finally work on this, and it took years to finally get back to it. We had a big premiere and everything. I had a score, Harley Wooten, who's a really talented musician, composed music for it. I got the rights to the theme song, which is by Super Live in the City, which is so good. A friend of mine named Dave knew some of the people in that band and suggested some of those songs, and I thought that song fit perfectly for it. So I got that involved. I did a lot of cleanup in the edit. My friend Blake, who was crew on all 5 episodes, he was the cinematographer for 4 of the episodes. He like helped me color it and everything, and he colored it, but I gave him like, you have to sit down and like, what do you think of this look? What do you think of that look? And that's a whole different process, but he did a great job coloring it. And finally everything all came together and we had a big premiere at a theater last, let's say April of 2019, I think, to premiere all 5 parts back to back and show it to everyone who worked on it. And we also promoted it through the Channel Awesome channel. So a bunch of fans came out and we got to sign autographs and all. It was a great time. That was one of the best, rewarding experiences that I've had, and getting to like see everyone who worked on it come and like see that there's like fans from Channel Awesome there who enjoyed it and all that. It was really cool. And then there was still some like touch-up work I needed to do on it before I posted it on YouTube. And then December came around and I finally put them up on there. So it was a long journey, just like tinkering away at things for years before I finally was comfortable enough to put them out.
How good does it feel now that you can look back and say, I did it?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's an indescribable feeling to finally say that I'm done with this, because for years I was like, I got to work on the Infinity Trinity this weekend or something, or like got to make time to finish the Infinity Trinity. Even the gap between shooting episodes 4 and 5 was a while, because that's when I started working at Channel Awesome, and I had like the bones of the script, but not all the way done yet. So by the time we were shooting episode 5, I was already working at Channel Awesome, and I got everyone to have a cameo in the last episode. Like Heather, Ayanna, Jim, Doug, Rob, Malcolm, Tamara. They all had like at least a small part in that last episode. So getting them involved was really cool. Jim, of course, had a cameo and was helping out with some stuff. He built like the prison phone set. There's like at the end, there's this, like those windows that people talk to on the phones at prisons. Right. He built that set for me. That was great to go through that production of the last episode with everyone from Channel Awesome. And I had access to a couple things I didn't have access to before with the studio and stuff. So it was tough juggling all the stuff I was already doing with shooting that and then eventually editing that and everything. But we somehow got it done somehow, some way. So it's great to know that I finally have it finished. And it's like, after that, I was like, I don't want to direct anything anymore. It was kind of like, because I did everything, like not everything myself, but a lot of the stuff like coordinating organization as a producer. I'm terrible at that. And I had to, set up all the locations and email everyone about that. That was just a nightmare for someone like me. Yeah. Who's just a really misorganized type person. But yeah, just doing everything from scratch and editing it and everything. And I love editing, but yeah, it's a very long, tedious process. So, but now I'm starting to get the itch to go back and do something. So it's like, what, I can't do anything now because of the virus and all this stuff. It's like I can't even do anything right now. I've had several ideas for stories and stuff, and that's kind of where I'm at now. Is I just want to write these stories, and then maybe later we could turn one or a few of them into a movie or something. But that's kind of where I'm at. Is just like I just want to write now and do, make as many stories as I can from the ideas that I have.
As I'm listening to you, telling you the story about how this is all produced, it reminded me of something that James Rolfe said, and because he did the Angry Video Game Nerd movie.
Oh
And
yeah,
I don't know if it was in an interview or something, but someone asked him about the process, and he said something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said obviously this was a passion project to this, but then when he actually went out to produce the movie, he felt like he bit off more than he could chew. So like
yeah,
he didn't know about like, well, if I'm going to film here, I have to it took a chunk out of this budget because he has to like pay for the rights, and then there's like all this red tape, and then I think they asked him like, would you make another movie? And he said like
no.
at least not now. Like I don't want, not anymore. Like can you relate to that somehow? Like is it like you're saying that you have a niche, but was it something, were there a lot of hardships in that sense as well?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a part in the second episode that's played by a friend named Jordan Lewis, which is the character Otto, who's the owner of the second restaurant where they have this big basketball charity matchup between Ben's, which is the main character, Eddie, or one of the main character, Eddie's brother in the series. So they have like this big basketball charity thing, and I had an actor all set up and ready to play that. Like we casted him, talked to him through like email and everything, and I saw his audition through video, and we were all ready to go. He was like, I talked to him the night before, he was ready to come in, and I never heard from that guy ever again.
Oh my goodness.
It was awful. I don't know what happened to him. If God forbid he passed away or something. I hope not. But I mean, something bad happened to him. I don't know. But I've never heard from him again since the night before we were supposed to shoot in like 2015 or 2014. So there was a last minute thing where the main actor, Jimmy Melf, who plays Riley in the series, he had a friend who was hanging around the set named Jordan Lewis, who I mentioned earlier. And there was no one else around. And I'm like, Jordan, do you want to fill this part? So, I mean, he had 2 scenes, but they were pretty big scenes. We had to, we already booked shooting at that restaurant that we were shooting at. And like, we gotta get this done. I can't waste this. So he agreed to do it. And he's not an actor. So, I mean, I'm sure it was really difficult for him, but he got through it. That was a tough day because, I mean, it was hard for him to memorize some of the lines. Because we threw it on him at the last second, and he's not an actor, and like it wasn't his fault at all. It was just a circumstance thing. Then he had to come back to do the basketball scenes at a later date that we shot in the gymnasium. But I thought he did really well, all things considered. I mean, a last minute replacement like that. I mean, he saved my butt, and he did a great job, I think, filling in. And that was just one of the many issues that we ran into on set. So I totally relate to James's stuff. I really love AVGN, but I like his more personal videos more. Like he did a video called The Dragon in My Dreams, which is a really great take on like this dream he had when he was a kid about this dragon, and he finally found where that dream came from. And it was at this this park that he went to, and it was like this big dragon statue or something, and it was like half documentary, half like written, and I'd never really seen anything like that before. When he does his own personal stuff or like horror related things or whatever, I think that's when he's at his freest, and that's when he's at his most creative. So I can't imagine, like AVGN was such a more gargantuan production than ours was. I mean, that had a huge budget behind it compared to ours. I mean, he had way more people on set. That was a more legitimate production than ours was. Way more. So there's also the pressure of that audience behind him. I didn't have that when I was making my stuff. And like, that's a beloved character. Like, I mean, I totally don't blame it all for not wanting to do something like that again. Also at the premiere, like they had a Chicago premiere of it. And that's where I first met Doug, was at that premiere. Malcolm, I knew.
He was in that movie too. He had a little scene.
He had a little cameo. Yeah. He was introducing the movie there. Like that was like his thing because James couldn't make it. So Doug kind of introduced the movie to everybody. But that's where I first met him, through Malcolm, who I knew from interviewing him on my college show called Real Reviews. I did like these interviews with people, and he was one of the people that I got because a coworker of mine went to high school with him. So I met Doug for the first time at the AVGN premiere. It's really weird when you think back about it. It's like I first met Doug Walker, the Nostalgia Critic, at the Angry Video Game Nerd movie premiere, and then I ended up working for him. It's very strange considering that I don't want to say grew up, but I mean a little after high school. So I was still in formative years when I got involved watching them. So yeah, a big impact on some of my comedy and timing and things like that. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad that you still have the itch and you want to continue on creating more stuff. I mean, I think that's also very important. That's what I'm doing here. That's what kept me sane during the lockdown. But yeah, and like a lot of my other guests who are artists and filmmakers and actors, they say the same thing as you. They're just itching to go and do something now. And but you know, but I have something to confess. It's actually you're actually an inspiration, believe it or not. When I watched the Infinity Trinity, and you gave the little the prologue about how this was something that you wanted to do, and you put it off for a while, something just sparked in me, and I said, why can't I? Because I'm a little bit older than you, but so acting is something that I've always wanted to do, and I think if there's anything that I took away from what you were saying in the intro is like, just follow your dream and do what you want to do. So not too long after that, actually, starting this past March, I enrolled in acting school.
Oh wow! Awesome.
Yeah. So Second City, which is birthplace in Chicago, but we have one here too in Toronto. I enrolled in acting school, and I went for 2 classes, and then COVID hit. And then, and so everything else is on Zoom. So all of my acting experience and all my lessons have been on Zoom. But I'm happy to say that I've went all the way. So I'm
great.
So there's 5 levels. The 5th level, it doesn't make sense to do it over Zoom because I think they actually prepare you for an actual like play. So it doesn't make sense. So once we're allowed to go, and I'm going to take it. But I took it up to 4. I established a network and a good group of friends, some who I've interviewed here. So thank you for being an inspiration.
Well, that's great, man.
No, I mean it when I say that. Like just sometimes you just need that encouragement. So yeah, this is a passion project. And now that I kind of have an idea of what it's like to produce a movie, or when I hear people talk, I have a deeper understanding and appreciation for the process that you went through, like directing and taking direction, being an actor, and just again wearing all those hats. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. So I mean, I hope I didn't make it sound like everyone just do anything. You could do whatever at any time. But yeah, that means a lot to me, man. That you say that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. It is something because I think all of you guys. I mean, again, like AVGN, Channel Awesome. It's something like, wow, they're living out the dream. But then I don't know what it was when you gave that personal message. I thought, okay, yeah, why can't I do this? And I was so scared to do it, but here I am, and I caught the acting bug.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the times with these projects or anything you want to do, like the first step is always the hardest thing. So you kind of just got to get over your own self sort of doubt, or all the things that are holding you back. Because once you get, at least for me, and I find with other people who've done the same thing, once you get the ball rolling, it's a lot easier to keep it rolling than to start the ball rolling.
Yeah, that's
you just
so
got to
true.
get over the initial thing.
Yeah, that's so true. But Walter, I know we went a little bit over time, so I really appreciate you sticking around and just talking about your film, your projects. And speaking of which, since you were saying we got to get the ball rolling, is there anything else that your fans can look forward to in the future? Like, are there any projects that we should look out for? Anything that you wanna
Well,
tell?
let me think. I just finished up the Twilight-Tober zone, which was like Batman, like a video every day in October this time for the Twilight Zone. So I reviewed 31 episodes of the Twilight Zone. We got to shoot some original segments for that. So I got to do a little bit of directing, writing for some stuff. We did like parodies of Twilight Zone episodes and stuff. That was a lot of fun. Like those are all up on the Channel Awesome YouTube channel. The original segments that I shot, I put into one video, and that's on my personal YouTube channel right now. So that's kind of the latest thing I've done in terms of like stuff I've actually shot myself. Rob and I are putting together 2 really big fanscription episodes for December. We're finally doing what if Tim Burton directed Batman Forever. So we're like carrying Michael Keaton.
That would be a good one. Oh my goodness, yeah.
That's been like a huge request since we first started, and that was one of the ones I wanted to do too. So Rob is going to do a what if on Batman Returns, like he wanted to do some stuff on that, and then we're going to do that one like the next week. So, and I think Nostalgia Critic might be reviewing Batman Returns in December, so it's kind of going to be an all Michael Keaton Batman month, kind of, with all the videos.
He's working backwards, right? He's going from Batman and Robin Forever, and then
yeah, because he did Batman Forever a few years ago. Now he's doing, I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure he's doing Batman Returns. So, but yeah, Rob is writing the Batman Returns one, and this is the Batman Forever one is the first one we're going to kind of co-write together. So that's like the next big thing. And then I'm looking into doing some new stuff next year, because we're going to keep Batman going in May, like the next 31 episodes. We're going to keep Twilight-Tober Zone going in October, and that'll be like more original segments we could do. So I'm really excited for that when we get down to it. And hopefully we could have more people in the room, like by next, September or whenever we're shooting that stuff. Right. Yeah, it's just going to be like, I have some ideas for like other shows that I might want to do next year. So just keep an eye out for that stuff. But it's all kind of a holding pattern until we get out of the quarantines and everything. So eventually, I mean, I'm going to be writing more stuff, and hopefully I could get back behind the camera and direct another short film or something sometime soon.
Is Batman exclusively the animated series, or would you even go into like Batman Beyond, or are you just sticking with?
I would want to get through all the animated series first, and that would take me several years. So if I'm like, who knows if the internet is still around in a few years, then yeah, I'll consider doing Batman Beyond, or maybe just other Batman animated movies or something. I mean, like, as long as I'm on Channel Awesome, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that there'll be a Batman that I could do.
Oh,
but,
great.
We got to get through the animated series first.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So there's a lot of projects to look forward to. So yeah, fans can find you where?
You can find me on Twitter at awesome_Walter, facebook.com/awesomewalterb. My personal YouTube channel is youtube.com/awesomewalter, and that has the Infinity Trinity and a bunch of other videos up on there that you could check out. And you could see me every Saturday on Twitch, the Channel Awesome Twitch channel for Awesome Comics and Coffee, where we're discussing me, Heather, and Jim discuss all stuff that's going on all week for movie related and TV related news. And we also review some stuff at the end of the show. So that's been a lot of fun. But I'm going to be, I think I could say this, I'm going to be like in a Nostalgia Critic review coming up in the next few weeks as a character that people like. So keep an eye out for that.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah. Oh, by the way, and I was really glad when I found out that you guys are going to be revamping the awesome comics on Twitch. Just keep that ball rolling. I saw your last episode, by the way. You went on a bit of a rant, which is kind of funny.
It happens sometimes.
That's all right. It was entertaining. You know what? For the most part, I agree with you. I don't think Friends is funny.
No, I mean it's just more like I'm sick of seeing like, oh, it's Friends, like everywhere, like people like Heather talking about her students when she was teaching, like loved Friends, and like these are kids who are like 12 years old or something. It's like, why of all the things we're passing on from the 90s, Friends is the thing. Like there's so much more interesting and like thought-provoking art, if you want to call it, from TV and movies that came out in the 90s. And you know, the thing that we're attaching ourselves to is Friends. They're all terrible people. All the characters are awful. I'm sorry.
Can I just say one thing? I don't know if I'm committing you a little bit, but you don't like Friends, but you like Full House?
Full House is like a guilty pleasure thing. I'm fully aware that Full House isn't great, but like I grew up watching it, so it's like got that kind of thing for me. Like it's like a warm blanket sort of thing. So, and it's also meant for like a family thing. Friends is like stupid humor that like for adults that isn't funny. that's
they're still not funny. They're not funny. Yeah. I always maintain, I'm going to that, but it's not fun. I wonder what it would sound like, look like if you know how they did the Big Bang episodes without the laughing track for the audience.
Oh yeah.
I wonder what it would look like if you did that with Friends. It would just be crickets.
It would just be dumb the entire time. But no, I know I rag on that kind of stuff too hard. I'm not like. Just when people bring it up, I kind of get like a little fired up because it's like, why are we still talking about this show? Can we just go away?
Yeah, I don't want you to get fired up right now.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was fun. Yeah. So, all right. So again, thank you, Walter. So you can check Walter out on those different platforms. And again, Walter, thank you for doing this, and I look forward to, as a fan. I have to say that I look forward to all the content that you're going to be bringing out to, I guess, the internet and for fans to look forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
All right. That is Walter Banasiak. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
This television is a portal to the past. Inside sit the dreams of one's youth and the fears of one's future. When imagination equates to a certain period of time and limits are left behind, the practical and the impossible cross over during those fleeting hours known as the Twilight-Tober Zone. What makes a home, and when does it cease to become one? Empty halls where happiness once resided can all too easily be abandoned. But what's left behind? Is there some residual emotion that one could pick back up upon returning? Can that emotion sustain us? Those memories comfort us? Can we survive off memories alone, with no one else to share them with?